Well, Kerry, we're heading into week 6, the final week of the spring football season. Obviously, it did blow by as fast as we thought it would, and but with it, it brought us a lot of great storylines throughout the year. Some were expected, others unexpected, but we got a great look at what the conference is. Some of the records don't indicate how strong some of these teams really were as well, which just shows to the parity of the conference that we thought would take place throughout the year. Great performances. We still have some kids looking to set some school records, be in the conference record books. Some are looking to take over the conference record. But at that same token, we ran into some bad news earlier today, and that is the game between Aquin and West Carroll has been canceled, unfortunately. So that leaves Aquin looking for an opponent for Friday night. Hopefully they get one, because I think a lot of people want to see Will Gustafson actually set the record for most offensive touchdowns in his career. He just needs one more to break it. He's tied with John Lauer of EPC right now. And then you have the wide receiver duo of Brennan Carlson and Andrew Bowman, also very much climbing the Aquin school ranks along with the conference ranks in receiving yards. And Andrew Bowman's there in receiving touchdowns as well. Du-Pec and Lena Winslow is definitely going to be the foresight and the highlight game of the year in the spring season of the NUIC. It's obviously our game of the week, but you got a shot at the North Division title. And at the same token, what one of the storylines that's really played out is who's number one, Lena Winslow or Aquin in Class 1A. Obviously, Du-Pec has been in that mix all year long, only losing to Aquin back in week 1, 28-21. Something that we'll probably highlight later on in our team breakdowns. But big game there.
Absolutely. Like you said, it's flies by. I know we say that every single time and every single last video, but it's true. No, a lot of great matchups this week, like you said. I'm really excited for the Lewin Du-Pec game. Sorry, guys. I'm also really excited to see like Stockton Vago game. That'll be something new. I have enjoyed seeing some of these new teams come in and just to see how we fare up against other conferences.
Right. No, and it's a good one there. That'll definitely be a good highlight game to kind of see where Stockton stands against a team like Winnebago. And obviously, we'll break that one down more in depth, but you bring a good point forward there. Obviously, we've been able to see Rockford Christian come in the NUIC, and while they're finally healthy, and talking to Coach Frederick, he'd like to see the season progress a little bit further, like probably everybody else would. He feels his team's starting to click at the right time, and they got their first win last week. Obviously, looking to finish strong to close out the season and head into the fall season. So, good amount of games once again. We say that every week, but this year has really proven that. But we're going to get ready to break these games down right now.
Well, our crossover game of the week is Milledgeville versus Orangeville, and it's going to be played in Orangeville at 1 p.m. on Saturday.
Yeah, if you look at the records of these two teams at the beginning of the season, you would have told me Milledgeville is 4-1 and Orangeville is 1-4. I'd probably say, yeah, reverse that. But that's exactly what we have here in this matchup. Milledgeville is a highlight storyline, being unexpected at 4-1. Early season takedowns of Forreston and Stockton helped get them there. Obviously, their lone loss was to Aquin. Orangeville at 1-4, arguably playing in one of the toughest schedules in the conference. They had to be forced to go out of conference last week against Knoxville, which they lost that game 26-6. Milledgeville beat Amboy 50-14. And last year when these two teams played, they met up in week 9 where Orangeville won that game 52-8 before heading into the playoffs.
You're right, though. You made a really good comment there. A lot of us would have been, no, that's totally flip-flopped. But anyway, the Missiles, both of them have had great seasons. nothing to shake their heads at. The Missiles, they want to end strong. The Broncos may be a bit defeated. How do the Missiles take out the Broncos and get that last W of the year?
Well, that's a good point there, Kier. Obviously, Milledgeville wants to come in and, you got to start off strong. You have a team that is likely a little bit down. They don't have the record that they thought they would have in a season that many of us hoped would have been back in the fall. But at the same token, if you come into this game, you got to be ready to go. For the seniors, it's your last game. So you got to treat it as such. It may be the last time you put the pads on. There's a lot of pride in that. And for Milledgeville, you want to come into this game knowing that Orangeville beat you 52-8 just a season ago, which was a running clock game, and you want to lay it down to them in return. And you're going to go to their field and do that. You got to start off fast, and that's where Milledgeville needs to be at, is looking to get that first score early, get Orangeville down. Maybe you might catch them sulking a little bit, get some extra scores in there.
I don't foresee the Broncos sulking. I mean, I really don't. But anyway, Orangeville's faced arguably the toughest schedule in the NUIC this year. How can they put it all together and get a W for their last game?
Well, Orangeville was a little banged up here, and after facing Du-Pec, and you hope that they can put everything together. Obviously, their record does not match their talent, and they have struggled in the pass game all year long. They've had to rely on the rush game. Looking statistically wise, their rushing game hasn't been as effective as you would think it would be, and some of that goes to the schedule that they played. I mean, they played probably the toughest schedule out of any team in the NUIC. They've faced all of the big opponents outside of Akron, and for them, again, you got to come in ready to go. The team that gets fired up first, puts the momentum in their hands first in this game, in my opinion, is the team that's going to come out on top. And the thing with Milledgeville, they're scrappy. They want to fight you every bit of the way. They have had that knack all year long. Orangeville has a lot more skill, I think, and they need to be able to possess that skill. They're definitely going to have a little bit more of the line size advantage in this game. I think it's going to be a great game. Definitely one to watch.
Who are you taking?
My heart's set on Milledgeville in this one.
It's funny, I don't think that I've really gone against you at all this year, so I guess what better week to do it than last week of the season, but I think the Broncos are going to pull it out. Alright, for our North matchup of the week, we're heading to Galena High School for their first game at home, and it will be versus the East Dubuque Warriors, 7 p.m. on Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, you got East Dubuque coming in with a 1-4 record. Galena coming in at a 4-1 record. Obviously, these two teams had quite the battle last year, where Galena won 14-7 in Week 9. Last week, Galena lost to Lena Winslow 14-7 in a great NUIC battle. East Dubuque lost to Stockton 40-6 in a game that, going into that game, not many people thought it would be that far of a score differential.
The Warriors, their record does not reflect how far they've come this year as a team under Coach Edler. How do they stifle the Pirates this week?
Well, I think what East Dubuque needs to do is obviously you have to get the run game going with Sam Huntington. You got to get him being explosive. Without Sam Bowman at quarterback, it limits your ability to do certain things, which we discussed last week, unfortunately. But with Dawson Fine in there, you can do, that QB option type play. They need to get the offensive line going as well, because if they get the line play going, they can open up those holes and get that run game going. And, you know, Galena's front line is going to have a little bit more of an advantage over East Dubuque here. But, you know, like you said, East Dubuque has improved a lot. They're a very fast team. They can hit you in a hurry. We saw that against Aquin, even though it was a lopsided score. They were able to come out pretty fast and get things moving pretty quickly. There were some areas that they couldn't capitalize on. They're going to have to make those drives count and get those points on the board against a Galena team that feels a little jaded after their loss last week.
Touching on that, Galena came off a disappointing loss last week. How do they regroup?
Well, you know, some people made it sound controversial. Myself, in my article, probably made it sound a little controversial as well because, you know, there were some calls in that game that one could argue either way. I mean, they were 50-50 calls. It is what it is. But how do you regroup to end the season? You have to go in with a chip on your shoulder type mindset, go out and play the best you can, knowing that, one, it's your last game for your seniors. Two, you want to prove to everybody that Galena football's back. What better way to do it than to finish the season on a high note with a W? You're 5-1. Your only loss is to what many call the #1 ranked team in state, in Lena Winslow. And you're getting ready to go into the fall season with expectations of getting the Pirates back to the glory days, getting into the playoffs and hoping for a playoff run. Obviously, to do that, they got to come out with a good, skilled plan. You know, get the run game going, which they've done. Have an effective passing attack, which they're very capable of. And probably trying not to necessarily outcoach yourself at the same time. Stick to what's working. If the run game's going, stick with it. Go to the pass. And that's one of the things that Coach Freed has with the Pirates. They're very well diversified in what they can do. The run game wasn't effective against Lena Winslow. They went to the passing game and it was clicking. They just got to find that mix and make it work, and I think they can get that W if they do that.
What are you thinking?
I have Galena in this game. I like what they've been doing all year long.
Our non-conference match for the week takes us over to Winnebago High School, 7 p.m. on Friday night, where they're going to feature their matchup with the Stockton Blackhawks.
Yeah, Stockton comes in this game with a 2-3 record, and Winnebago comes in at 1-3. Last week, Stockton beat East Dubuque 40-6, and Winnebago lost to Byron 28-25. Obviously, this is the first time these two teams are meeting, so it's going to be a pretty interesting look at what can happen here as a NUIC team takes on a big northern team, which we saw just in the playoffs a year ago when Du-Pec played Byron.
Stockton had to pick this game up because of Dakota bowing out for the season. What will they have to do to compete with Winnebago for 4 quarters?
Well, it's going to be a tough challenge because while I haven't done a whole lot of research on Winnebago, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know what they are, you take a look at some of the guys that they have, and their line is pretty good size.
Their line is really good size. Unfortunately, they have had some injury issues, and they have really low numbers, so I know that hasn't really helped. I know that they've had to do a ton of, like, picking their puzzle pieces and seeing where they fit best.
Right. And you bring a good point because Stockton's had to go through that same battle this year as well. But for Stockton to be effective, you got to stick to what you do, and that's running the football. You're going to have to be quick off the ball to combat what Bago has for size, and at the same time, you got to get the horses going, and that horse is Jason Herman. Obviously, you want to get the ball to him, but you're going to need to mix it up, like we've talked about many times. You know, Stockton does a good job of getting it to the fullback in Andrew Haas, and then also getting it to the other wing back in Hunter Hilly. But you gotta be able to keep doing that. really you need that line to hit their block. So, and, you know, it doesn't have to be 100% solid block, but you just got to get your body in front of somebody to create that sliver of room. That way you can, you know, churn out the 3 yards, 4 yards. I think ball control is going to be a key for Stockton to be able to play with Winnebago and their size.
Bago's record does not explain their toughness and the close calls that they've had with Stillman Valley, Byron, and Showa Kingston. What can Bago do to pick up a win at the end of the season?
Well, you know, one of the things that we've seen Bago do in the past is they like to run a lot of I formation, and they're effective at both running the ball and passing the ball out of that. I believe they have had some pro sets in the past as well, but primarily when you have a big line, you want to run the ball, and that's what Bago likes to do. There's no hidden secret. The Big Northern is a run-heavy team or run-heavy conference, similar to the NUIC, but you tend to see a couple of teams like North Boone, for instance, that will spread it out as well, which, you know, you want to see for Bago, you just got to be able to be consistent. Don't make mistakes. Like you said, you've had some close losses to Stillman Valley, 21-10. You lost to Byron last week, 28-25. You lost to Genoa Kingston, 35-21. So you're right there in those games, and then your one win is against a tough Dixon team as well.
And I mean, their loss to Byron really could have been maybe not. Maybe they wouldn't have beaten Byron, but you know, it was just a play call where the coaches called one play and the quarterback decided on something else, and because he misunderstood the coach, you know. So I don't know about you. I think Bago can put it all together against Stockton, because I know, like I said, they've been putting the puzzle pieces together. I think that Bago ends with a win this year.
I agree with you. I like the Indians in this game just merely for the fact that they are a 3A school going up against a 1A school, and they have a bigger size advantage than what Stockton has. But wouldn't it be cool to see the Blackhawks win?
Our first South matchup of the night takes us over to Rockford Christian, where we will see the Rockford Christian Royal Lions taking on the Amboy Clippers, 7 p.m. on Friday night.
Yeah, Amboy comes in with a 1-3 record, with Rockford Christian matching that also with a 1-3 record. Last week, Amboy lost to Milledgeville 50-14, and Rockford Christian beat West Carroll 54-18 for their first win of the year. Obviously, this is the first time these two teams are meeting in the school's histories.
Both teams have had a tough season, and they're pretty much polar opposites on offense. How can Amboy utilize their wishbone offense against Rockford Christian?
Well, that's one of the things that Amboy is, you know, pretty much been sticking to all year. You know, one of those things when you have a certain group of kids, you want to keep deploying what you have available, and with Amboy, that's the wishbone offense. Nothing wrong with it. The biggest thing is you got to get your guys out in front and blocking for you. And obviously, Amboy likes to go to Sean Fitzpatrick early, often, and as often as possible. And with that, you know, they like to offset it with Joe Quest as well. And then they'll try to throw in a couple pass plays here and there with Lane Bailey. But they're typically the rollout style passes. They'll QB rollouts, looking for a crossing pattern, you know, 5 to 15 yards deep. It can be effective. A lot of teams find a lot of success in that type of offense. And I think against Rockford Christian, they're going to have a little bit of success running the ball, because that over the course of the season, that's been one of the Royal Lions' downfall, is they haven't been too good at stopping a good run game.
The Royal Lions, it's been neat to have them as part of the NUIC this year to provide just, you know, a complete wild card for everyone. How can they finish on a high note?
Well, you know, obviously they had that big win against West Carroll last week. And with that, you know, they got to stick to what they do, and that's throwing the football. Last week they were able to do exactly what we had said that they needed to do, and that was get Noah Ross more involved in the run game. They were able to do that. Talking to Coach Frederick earlier today, they're healthy, so they're feeling good and confident with where they're at now. Obviously, going into week 6, which is their 5th game of the year, they feel like they're starting to hit on more cylinders. And their pass game has been real effective and rather efficient all season long as well. But, you got to put it all together. They have enjoyed being in the NUIC, seeing teams that they haven't faced. Obviously, seeing the quality of play that the NUIC brings week in and week out has been something that, despite their record, they have had a lot of enjoyment playing in that type of situation where every game matters. And, that's all you can ask for when you're playing in a season like this to help get yourself built up. As far as the game itself, for the Royal Lions, stick to what works for you, keep the pass game going. Hit those out routes, hit those slant routes, and catch them sleeping, and then hit that deep route that they like to do. And I think that as long as they do that, they're going to have a good chance in this game against Amboy.
Who are you taking?
I do like the Royal Lions in this matchup. I think this is going to be a really good game. Amboy can run the ball. Rockford Christian can throw the ball, so it's got that interesting matchup intrigue to it. But I think the Royal Lions are going to be a little bit more than what Amboy has available.
Our last South matchup of the night takes us to Lanark, 7 p.m. on Friday night, where the EPC Wildcats will be taking on the Forreston Cardinals.
Yeah, Forreston comes in with a 2-2 mark, and EPC comes in at 2-3. Last week, Forreston lost 41-8 to Aquin, and EPC lost 46-6 to Du-Pec. Last year, this game was back and forth, where Forreston won 22-20 in Week 9 before heading into the playoffs, which kept EPC out of the playoffs because a win for the Wildcats would have got them in at 5-4. Likewise for Forreston, it made them 7-2, and were able to get a good draw in the playoffs because of it.
Forreston took a pounding last week. How do they regroup to beat the Wildcats?
Well, you got to brush it off. You played a very good team for the first, 23 minutes of the game, 21 minutes of the game. You hung in there. You gave them a good fight. And then the wheels kind of broke off there to end the first half. With that, you got to come back, ready to go. Last game of the year, you can't leave no doubt. Obviously, Forreston has a lot of youth, so they're building for next year. And this is a great game for the seniors, obviously, to lead that last charge. Also a great game for the juniors to be geared up, ready to go, and be prepared for the fall. And no better way than to end the season with a win to get yourself ready and motivated going into August.
The Cats felt like they could have been in more games, but obviously youth has kind of played a factor. How do they get a W on Friday?
Well, I think with the EPC, you got to come out ready to go. You said it there. The Cats, you felt should have been in more games. When you see them on the field, they have a lot of size. They have a lot of strength. There's no doubt that they're a very strong team, but they've had a lot of inconsistencies which have led to where they're at currently in the standings. They do have a lot of youth, so they need to build on that. They have a couple seniors and a lot of juniors and sophomores that are playing. And this is a rivalry game. So, for both these teams, if you cannot get up for a rivalry game, regardless of what type of season you're in, then you probably shouldn't be taking the field. And, I always wanted to play my rivals. I didn't care what it was. I didn't care if we were 3-6, 4-5, 5-4. It didn't matter. When that rivalry game was there, you wanted to go out there and you wanted to stick it to them because you could. And that's what makes it fun. That's what's going to make this game fun. Obviously, there's nothing on the line here but that pride. And for EPC, you just got to attack the Forreston defense. You got to be able to get off the ball. Forreston's not big like they have been in the most recent years of their championship teams, but they're no slouch yet either. They're still Forreston. They're a very well disciplined team, and they have some speed along with some size, and they can mix it up. EPC obviously has some size up front, but they got to be able to be quick off the ball because one of the things that we know Forreston is they always work quickly, and they want to wear you down fast. EPC needs to be able to take control early in this game to keep yourself in it, control the ball, control the clock, and good things come.
Where do you take him?
Excuse me. I like the Cardinals in this one.
Let's go and make another, depiction. I actually have EPC winning this matchup. Our game of the week takes us to the Galena-Winslow Athletic Bowl on Saturday at 1 p.m. where the Galena-Winslow Panthers will be taking on the Du-Pec Rivermen.
Du-Pec comes in with a 4-1 record, and Galena-Winslow comes in at 3-1. Last week, Du-Pec beat EPC 46-6, and Galena-Winslow beat Galena 14-7. Last year, this was a game that was played right before the start of the playoffs, with Galena-Winslow winning 52-21.
How can the Rivermen stay focused this week and have that chip on the shoulder mindset to show everyone that they are the king of the North?
Well, Du-Pec obviously has a big marquee game under their belts already with Aquin, who they beat 28-21 back in week 1. Or I'm sorry, they lost 28-21 back in week 1, which is their only blemish of the year. They've been one of the hottest teams since then as well. What they need to do is they got to come in prepared and ready for a very physical game. Galena-Winslow obviously is going to put up a big fight. Galena-Winslow very much feels, as they should, that they're still the king of the conference. And when you come into a game like this, you got to be ready to go. And that's where Du-Pec needs to be at. You got to come out ready to take on that surge and that charge from the line on both sides of the ball for Galena-Winslow, which is going to be in favor of Galena-Winslow in this game. With that, you just got to come out and get ready to play big and be ready for a championship type game.
Can the Panthers slow down the Du-Pec offense and show them that they are the NUIC Supreme?
Well, I think what they can do is win the line of scrimmage battle. And if they can do that consistently, they can get a lot of pressure on Hoffman. And that pressure is going to come in the form of Max Ament and Jack Setterstrom off the ends. And you're going to see Cole Gerber coming up the middle on some blitzes. And, there's going to be different times with different concoctions that Coach Milder's going to throw different schemes to throw off Hoffman's timing and consistency. As far as being able to get to Hoffman, that's going to be a little bit of a different story. One of the things that he is so good at is being elusive in the pocket. It's not that Hunter's a speed demon. He's not fast, but he's good on his feet, and his mind of presence is always there, looking downfield, being able to feel that pressure. He's very good at reading check 1, check 2, check 3, dump it. And for a quarterback that's a junior, especially a high school quarterback, that's very effective because you can think, okay, 1, 2, 3, dump. If one's not open, you got 2, 3. And that's where Du-Pec is going to have some consistency, because if Galena-Winslow's getting to Hoffman and under 3 seconds, it's going to be Lena Winslow all day long. If the Rivermen can keep Lena Winslow off of Hoffman for at least 3 seconds or better, Hoffman gets that time, and when he has time, he's able to pick teams apart.
What are you thinking?
Well, until the champs are gone, you got to stick with the champs. I got Lena Winslow in this game.
Definitely a matchup. I don't know. I feel like I flipped a coin, but I'm gonna have to agree with you and stick with black and gold.
Well, Kara, that gives us a recap of what we're looking at in Week 6. Obviously, we have some good games there. Got some rivalries with Forreston and EPC. Got a good matchup between Amboy and Rockford Christian. We got our game of the year in Du-Pec and Lena Winslow. We got an interesting non-conference game in Stockton and Winnebago. And hopefully somewhere along the line, Akron can pick up a game as well, because at the end of the day, you just don't want to see teams losing out on games and kids having the opportunity to play. A lot of good games. Most of them are Friday night this week, right? Only a couple of games on Saturday. So I think there's 5 radio broadcasts this weekend covering, well, right now the 6 games, which would have been 7, but 5 of the 6 games are covered on radio, and we try to get you all the other link information, but most of the links are through NFHS, and I know a lot of schools or people have been having issues with their subscriptions and whatnot, but bear with it. Obviously, one of the best things that came out this past week is the IHSA has confirmed that they're going to start with the traditional fall season with practices beginning August 9th. So that at least gives us something to look forward to. And as spring sports start to come in, at least the baseball, the softball, and the track and field are going to have a true playoff with a state tournament. So that's also a step in the right direction to get us back to normal. And obviously some of these games, not having the full crowds has had a little bit of a different feel to it, but the excitement in the game and the excitement on the kids' faces and the coaches' faces, I mean, it's really brought a sense of joy and normalcy back to the field, and that's always been important. So, listen to one of the games on the radio if you have NFHS, or if some of these schools are broadcasting on their YouTube channels. Tune in, take a look, watch a game. If you get to the games, have fun and enjoy. But as always, root for the NUIC.